Hi, this is Chris and welcome to The Compulsive Hobbyist. This video is a little bit of a process video and a little bit of a learning experience video about what I went through installing some hardwood bookshelves in my basement studio. Now, hanging bookshelves is about as entry-level a woodworking project as you could ask for. And if you're experienced at woodworking, you will probably get a laugh out of this. Now, I am pretty much a measure twice, cut once kind of guy. And in this project, even though I measured 2, 3, 4 times, I found a little bit too late that I had neglected to measure one important point. And I didn't discover that until after I had bought, stained, and cut my fairly expensive black walnut lumber, which left me in a little bit of a bind and put the project on hold for several weeks until I finally came up with an approach that I thought might get me to a reasonable solution. And that is what this video is about. Why don't we jump into where I was at the point where I was ready to start on that final phase of the project. So what I'm doing is I'm putting in these very simple wall-mounted bookshelves. I'm going to have 6 of them on this side, 6 of them on the other side, and then there's going to be one going across the top. So when it came time for me to measure out and cut the shelves, I did so knowing my stud-to-stud measurement. So I was able to maximize the planks, which are on the expensive side, and get the most shelves out of it with minimum slop, which really appealed to the penny pinching side of me. But here's the problem. Once I started installing these brackets, I realized that my center stud to center stud measurement wasn't going to cut it because I need to mount these things onto the brackets. If you look at the bottom of the bracket, you'll see 2 screw mounting points right down the middle, which are in line with the mounting holes that go in the center of the stud, ideally. And when I did that, I didn't leave myself enough room so that if I want to overlap a little bit on this side, well, I'm now sitting in the middle of the bracket on this side. A real newbie mistake. So what I'm going to attempt here, and this is really just an experiment, is I'm going to use a little bit of scrap wood here and try to cut out a piece that will run on the inside of each of these. I'll stain it, get it to match as well as I can, and then put it on. Probably will have to glue it on, which is probably not ideal. I think in the end it will look okay because I'm going to use this actually as a bookshelf. There's going to be brackets that actually hold the books or magazines in place. I don't think the seam is going to be particularly visible. And I don't think it's going to compromise the safety or stability of this thing because this is going to still be screwed in really on both ends, ideally. This extra piece here is really just going to be for aesthetics. It's not really going to be bearing much weight at all. So it is a bit of a hack, but you know, once you've already cut, there's not much else you can do in a situation such as this other than go buy more wood and waste this stuff, which really for me isn't an option. So let's see how it works. So here we have the leftover scraps from my board cuts. And I think I'm going to have just enough to do this. Basically what I need here, and I'm kind of doing this one-handed because I didn't bring out my tripod or anything. Really what I need for each of the boards is on the left side is 1 inch. And I'm going to get just about that. So I got about 3.5 inches, a little over 3 inches, a little over 3 inches. So even if I can only get 2 cuts out of each of these, I think I'm going to be good. This one here I had actually used as a test stain board, but I think I can get by with using this end. Yeah, same here. I think I can get by with using the clean end of each of these. And these, unfortunately, are not salvageable. So I think I have just enough here. So we've had some mixed success here. Basically what we've got is, yes, I'm paranoid about these blades. We've got about 3, 4, 5 good ones. Again, I'm looking for 6. I think I've got 4 actual good ones here. And then I've got 3 where we've got a fracture down the board. This one is barely holding together, just the outer lip here. I think I'm going to need to glue this one. This one, same deal, kind of on the floppy side. And this guy here, how many pieces are we dealing with? I mean, that ain't right. This guy here broke in 2 spots. So I think this guy is not salvageable. I'm going to need to salvage these 2 though, because that's really all I've got for scrap walnut here. So, and I'm not going to go buy a plank just to fill in these little gaps. So I don't think I'm going to be able to get this in there without smearing it on the top of the wood, and I hate to do that. The purist in me wants to preserve the natural wood finish and not get it all glued up. But clearly this is not right now a purist type of repair. This is a simply need to get it functional type of repair. Not ideal. Ugh. Anyways, this is my rather poor man's attempt at salvaging a piece of walnut. I don't know what's more pathetic, that I'm actually going through this length to try to make use of this piece of scrap wood, or that I'm documenting it for YouTube so that potentially the entire world can witness it. The good news is it's a small channel. So after some quick sanding here, this was the one that was not the best lined up fracture repair, but it's smoothed over. So I think this is going to be good enough for, again, for a not visible part of the shelf. It'll be up in the back. I think this is salvageable, so I'm waiting for the other one to dry, and I'm going to start staining the rest of them. And we got 5 of the 6, I don't know what I want to call these, shims, end pieces, shelflets. I'll call them hacks. I got 5 of these hacks. This with the 6th one again. The glue is bonding on that. And I'm going to stain them with this Watco Danish oil. This was recommended on some other channels, and I'm happy with it. I did a side-by-side comparison of the Danish oil with some teak oil, and basically the end result was very difficult to distinguish. The thing with teak oil is it takes a really long time to dry. And this stuff dries very quickly. I don't recall. I think it was pretty much ready to use overnight. So I'm happy with it. And again, I really couldn't tell the difference comparing the two. I wanted it to be on the darker side, but to look natural, and I'm very happy with the results. If you're asking yourself, hey, why isn't this idiot using latex gloves so that he doesn't have to wipe this nasty stuff off of his hands, be sure to put that in the comments, because maybe I'll read it next time. This is one of the ones that did not need any repair, and the finish is a close match for the boards, as it should be, because it's the same wood, it's the same finish, same process. They're not all going to be an exact match because every piece of wood is different, but in all, I think they're going to be close enough. There is some rough cutting lines here from the table saw that I probably should sand down if I want them to be exactly flush, but nobody is going to be looking at them because of where they're going to be placed. Now, we might need to mix and match a little bit to find the best combination of pieces that really fit well together, color-wise, tone-wise, but it doesn't, and also cut-wise, because you can see these cuts in the boards themselves are not necessarily perfectly straight, but I think they're going to be good enough because these brackets cover up the seam. Now, I am going to have to better secure these. The shelves will be drilled into these screws here on this end. They're also going to need to be secured a little bit better here. I don't want this thing popping off. So I have not yet decided whether I'm going to glue these together, screw them together, or just find a better way to affix each piece to the bracket. So that remains to be determined. So now we're at the point of the final test. I'm pretty happy with the way these have turned out. As you can see here, these seams, while not perfect, they stand up to a casual visual inspection at a few feet away. There definitely is a seam, and I knew there was no way around that. And I wasn't aiming for absolute perfection here. I was aiming for good enough. And the reason here is that these are going to be masked. Not completely, there's still going to be a little bit of a gap there. But from face on, you don't really see it because the seam is covered by the brackets. And from an angle, the contents of the shelves are really going to dominate what's going on visually here. The shelves, hopefully, will be really rendered to just being a visual accent between the deep brown and the black, with what will be on the shelves, really kind of visually taking up the space. So this is the end result. In all, I will say I'm happy with how it looks. I'm happy with how it performs. and I would say it's a success. I would have preferred it if I didn't have to kludge up those end wedges there, because obviously I know they're there, and if I look, I can see the seam. There's really nothing I can do to get rid of it. But if you stand back a few feet, you're not going to notice it. And really, this load of National Geographics has been sitting here for several days now, and there is no sign that these shelves are not up to the task. This is as heavy a load as I'm ever going to put on these things, so if I'm going to do a stress test, this is it. I'm comfortable with them, and they're fine. Long term, are these shelves just going to be carrying a National Geographic collection? Probably not. I kind of hope that this overhead shelf will ultimately hold a record collection, which today does not exist. And eventually, I think this magazine collection is going to get maybe sold off or given away, who knows. For me, the big takeaways from this project were that even though I thought I had all the information I needed, it turns out I didn't. I was in a hurry to get it done, and that's usually a mistake with a project like this. Rushing will almost never have good consequences for you. What I really should have done is pre-cut one length of shelf. It didn't even have to be from this expensive walnut. It could have just been a random piece of plywood or anything really, and just try to fit it in place on one set of brackets. I would have known right away that there was a problem, and I could have made an adjustment. Once I discovered that mistake, the project basically went on hold for a couple months. I ended up with a bare wall and a handful of these brackets in place and a pile of shelves that I didn't know what I was going to do with. And it wasn't until I had a self-imposed deadline that I had to meet, some family coming over, that I really took it upon myself to figure out a way to finish this in a way that would be satisfactory. And it really was that deadline that prompted me to just try these wedges. I didn't have a lot of optimism that they would be successful, but in the end, it turned out better than it probably should have under the circumstances. Now, I'm certainly not going to try to do a roofing job myself, but something like this, a set of shelves in a basement studio, sometimes good enough is good enough. As always, I have more projects underway or in planning, and you'll be seeing more of them here. I hope to see you all there. Bye now.